Okay, so we read Secret Son, and our whole topic is based on a division of wealth in Morocco, the disparities between the have and the have-nots. So this is our presentation overview. Like I said, we read Secret Son by Leila Lamy, and for the introduction, we're going to go over the setting, the characters, as well as the thesis, and we have 4 subtopics. Moroccan youth is my topic. Division of wealth is Ramatu. We have gender roles, which is Tori, and then religion significance, which is Haley. And then we'll go over the conclusion and then the references. Okay, so for the setting of this novel, we figured it's sometime after 2005 because in the book there's a reference about 9/11, and that was when one of the characters, Amal, was a freshman in college, and now we know she's graduating. So we think it's at least 4 years after, maybe sometime. It's in Morocco, obviously. Casablanca is a big place that they talk about throughout the novel, as well as Hay Najet, which is not an actual place in Morocco. And it's a lot about the poor society versus the elite society throughout the novel. The character analysis, Yusuf El-Neki is the main character, and he's the character that we follow throughout the book, throughout his struggle with finding his father and the realities that he's not like him and he'll never be a part of his world. And then we have Mati, who is one of his friends, as well as Amin, and those are the 2 other characters that are with Yusuf for a lot of the book. Rashida is Yusuf's mother. Nabil Amrani is Yusuf's father that we find out that he didn't know about. Malika Amrani is his wife. Amal Amrani is the Amrani's daughter. Fernando is Amal's boyfriend. And Hatim is a party leader that comes into Hay Najet, as well as Fernando Benaboud. He is one of the big journalists and writers, and we see him throughout the novel. Our thesis is Morocco is currently facing a power struggle between progression and deterioration in the areas of society such as division of wealth, gender roles, religion, and youth. And through our research, we can connect Morocco's overall challenges today to the ones discussed in Secret Son. And this is my topic. It's the youth in Morocco. The youth is between 15 and 19, and they count for about 30% of Morocco's population. And they also make up 44% of the working population, the people that are able to work. So with the unemployment rates, it's like a huge deal because it's such a large chunk of the population. And this is my thesis from my subtopic. It's unemployment rates are directly linked to lack of education, opportunities, and wealth. And with education, they have a lack of skill sets, so they don't have communication skills, writing and reading. They show no teamwork skills or leadership skills. And through this, they have a lack of confidence, which really they struggle with, the youth, when they try to find a job. The opportunity, there's no jobs, so they're like outsourcing jobs. They're looking elsewhere, going to other countries, and things such as that. And like I said, there's a lack of opportunity due to the wealth. And if you're not wealthy, you don't have connections, and that's a big thing in Morocco, getting a job through connections. And there's also no training opportunities that goes along with the lack of confidence. Unemployment. 22% of young males are unemployed in Morocco, while 38% of females are without a job. And statistics indicate that 90% of young women and 40% of young men who are not currently enrolled in school and who are not studying for the past couple years are either unemployed or part of an economically inactive group. And low wages also lead to unemployment through severe dissatisfaction within the job, because if they don't feel like they're making enough money, they cannot go on with their lives and create a family and everything like that. And this is a small video that we have. And this video just shows a little bit about the unemployment crisis, as well as what the youth are doing about it.
Most of whom were graduates, rallied on the streets of the Moroccan capital of Rabat on Thursday, carrying banners to express their frustration with unemployment and request the government to address the job deficit.
There is no desire or will to change the situation. If there was a will, we would not be here. Why would we be blamed because we managed to study and have high diplomas? Why should our faith be thrown into the streets?
On Wednesday, 5 young unemployed men set themselves on fire, indicating the growing trend in self-immolation in the Middle East as a way of protesting, most notably initiated by the Tunisian fruit seller Mohamed Bouazizi, who set himself on fire after being humiliated by the police, which ultimately triggered the Arab Spring. Unemployment in Morocco currently stands at around 31%. In related news, Moroccan Prime Minister Abdelilah Ben Kiran gave an outline of his government's plans to target national economic growth, which in turn would boost the employment sector.
So as you saw in that video, a lot of the youth are out rallying because they don't have these job opportunities and they're very frustrated with it. Along with the lack of education, most of the unemployed youth have low education levels or no education levels at all. Half of them haven't studied. Employment policies are higher on education graduates. And this here is a quote from Ron Bruder. He's the founder and CEO of the Education for Employment Foundation. And he wrote, ironically, while all these young people in Morocco are without jobs, many employers report difficulty in finding qualified employees. And these needed skills, as is true for most of the Middle East, range from technical and scientific comprehension and facility to soft skills. And soft skills include writing, teamwork, leadership, and communication, and the lack of which undermines their confidence and ambition to succeed. So that's obviously huge. And then with lack of opportunity, 1 out of 3 Moroccans want to leave the country or are planning to do so because of bad expectations or due to poor availability in job opportunities. So as I said before, a lot of them are going out to other countries just to be able to try and find something that they could manage and live off of. University graduates face difficulty in matching their degrees to job. A lot of the people that go to school do not find a job within what they were studying. The national exam system excludes many young people, regardless of gender, for the opportunity to pursue post-secondary studies that were enable them to become more highly skilled and attractive to employees. So that is obviously another opportunity that's not given to them. And as I said before, no connections. What's being done to help the youth? I read the quote before, the man who is the CEO of the company, he has created these little things that could help the youth. The first one is utilizing effective methodologies, and that's engaging the trainees in highly interactive manners, encouraging them to participate, focus on both hard and soft skills, and hopefully get them a job through that. The second one is train with effective approaches. You have to update the training and focus on that so it's very productive and it moves faster. And they say that it should be focused on productivity goals because that goes hand in hand with the training. Focus on giving trainees the opportunity to prove themselves. Moroccans are most interested in job stability, and the youth want government jobs, which is more money, and with the responsibilities and money, that makes them push harder to try and get employed. And as we learned through our interview with Dr. Warden, she told us no money means no apartment, and no apartment means you can't have a family. So through that, that's a huge thing. And they tie training programs to local opportunities, and it appeals to the young entrepreneurial people, and it helps with the business because it reduces costs by sourcing locally. And through Secret Sun, we see Youssef El Mekki, and these are just some quotes. The first one one talks about him not being able to find a job, and the second one talks about him and Amin not being able to find jobs as well. And as I said, Amin and Mati had a hard time finding jobs. Mati was the only one that was really able to find a stable job. And Amal, although she's female, she comes from a wealthy family and she is able to have lots of opportunities. Arab Spring, I'll just go over this quickly. It's fueled by the angry and unemployed youth. The root causes are here like corruption and stuff like the connections. This is just some information. More than 10 countries in North Africa. An estimate, 34,500 people have been killed. A lot of people have been injured through it. And this is
Okay, so my subtopic was division of wealth. So my thesis was Secret Sun follows Yusuf's transition from having limited resources to acquiring new status and wealth, and thus enabling us to grasp the economic factors presented in Morocco. So location plays a big part of wealth in Morocco, and like Hay and Najad is not an actual place, but it talks about it in Secret Sun, and there are many similar places like it that are considered slums in Morocco. And Katie, one of the students we contacted, who actually did a semester in Morocco, stated one of the families I stayed with in the village of Freria didn't have running water or electricity and was very poor. This poverty is seen in a lot of rural Morocco. It is like being in a total different country than the urban centers of Rabat, Casablanca, or Fez. So you can see like Casablanca is more, and Fez is also mentioned in Secret Sun. Those are places where mostly the nobles and the wealthy people live. As Hay and Najat, which is not a real place, but talking to Katie, Feria looks similar to what Hay and Najat is described to be. So unemployment is a factor to look at when considering division of wealth. And Morocco created some 140,000 new jobs, but unemployment rose from 8.1% to 8.8%. And when I mean unemployment, it's important to look at what exactly they define it as, which is it measures the number of people actively looking for a job as a percentage of the labor force. So it's worse for the youth. Under age 34, 20.2% are unemployed, and for graduates, it's 17.9% that are unemployed. And corruption correlates a lot with unemployment, so it's important to look at this aspect as well. And a really good quote that I found from Secret Sun that I thought that hits home to this topic is, which was stated by Hatim, was, "Our problem run much higher. Our communities fall into disgrace started with our political leaders. Oh, and what leaders? They promised to build schools and hospitals, create jobs for the young, and improve our economy. Of course, they did none of that. The years come and go, government follow one another, but our literacy rate stays the same. Our hospitals remain ill-equipped, and our economy still depends on agriculture and tourism. Like sheep, our foreign educated elite want to do whatever France or America wants them to do, without regard for whether it is good for the rest of us. And in the process, they waste or steal our money. They are a small number of people, just dedicate few, but they are the real obstacles to progress. So you see, our society is rotten from the bottom up, but also from top down. And only by purifying it at all levels will be able to make tangible progress." So you see how exactly corruption deals with unemployment and the division of wealth. And doing research, it seems that those who are in government positions tend to be paid more or tend to make more higher compared to other people, while others are still living in slums and have no jobs. And Katie also, relating to Katie and her viewpoint on corruption, she states there are definitely large divisions between the elite and educated and wealthy in society than the less wealthy. These divisions are clear in the cities, but they are even more apparent between cities and the countryside, where poverty and subsistence living is the norm for many. Of course, one difference between Moroccan and American materialism is the royal family. The king of Morocco is quite wealthy, and he takes crazy trips to jet ski in the Mediterranean and things like that. So this is the king and his family, and that's his wife. Oh, and one more thing. Just to add, even though Morocco is still struggling, they still have made some progress. Economic growth has continued to recover, inflation has remained moderate, and unemployment has declined about 9%. And poverty and unemployment are the visible problems facing the country, but the king has for the last 3 years, the king has pushed a construction boom to encourage international business. And Morocco's economy grew by 3.7% in 2010, and inflation has fell from 3.9 to 1% in 2009, a level which continued to remain consistent in 2010 and 11.
I did gender roles for my subtopic. My thesis is the reason gender inequalities are rigid in Moroccan culture is because women are faced with traditional and progressive roles, while men dominate them both socially and economically. In Morocco, there's traditional gender roles. Men hold a higher rank than women, and they're more in the public sphere, while women are in the private sphere. Women are expected to hold sort of the domestic sphere and to raise children and do all household duties. Women are oppressed and viewed as weak, and women who fail to adapt to socially constructed ideals are rejected and marginalized by society. The Code of Honor is an example of women being oppressed, and these are a set of restrictions that are put on women. It holds that family is central on their social identity. So women are expected to dress conservative and to be sort of non-sexual. And the idea of becoming pregnant out of wedlock is forbidden, and if you do, you're rejected by society and you put shame on your family. And fathers control their daughters, and husbands sort of control their wives. So that's sort of the traditional gender roles that are placed in Morocco. There are changes to these traditional roles, and it is becoming more progressive. There's the 2004 Family Code Reform, which is also known as the Madwana. It's centered on reforming family laws and women's rights. The feminist movement in Morocco triggered social changes like this, and this is sort of their most successful change. It's moving women into more of a public sphere. It allows for more rights for women, including the right to marry without permission from a family member, the right to divorce, and it limits polygamy, and it raises the minimum age to marry from 15 to 18. However, there are many setbacks to these family laws, and there's still room for improvement. Male relatives still receive double of the inheritance of what women receive, and many court cases ignore the family codes, and many judges are stuck in traditional roles. And according to the 2010 data reported by the Justice Ministry courts, have granted special suspensions for minors to marry in 90% of the cases that have appeared before them. So clearly it's not set in force or set in stone, and a lot of people are still stuck in traditional roles, which sort of makes it hard for women to know sort of where they are when there's progressive and traditional roles being set in front of them. Gender was a huge part of The Secret Son. Yusuf's mother was exiled, sort of when she became pregnant out of wedlock, and she had to live a lie to be accepted. She couldn't go home when she did become pregnant because she knew she'd be shunned from her family. Amal, who is Nabal's daughter, has high gender expectations from her. He tries to control who she dates and wants her to be a traditional Moroccan woman. And in the story, Nabal is more in the public sphere and sort of the breadwinner, while Malika, his wife, stays at home. And in the book, he does have an affair with Rashida, and Malika finds out about this when Yusuf is sort of part of his life. And if vice versa, Malika probably would have been shunned from society and the family if she was the one to have an affair, but it was kind of okay that Nabal did. In a quote,
from the book is there was no question of going back home once she became pregnant. She would dishonor her family and bring shame upon his household. And this is Rashida talking about how she just had no choice of going home or not because her father would be sort of shunned from society if she came home pregnant out of wedlock.
And my subtopic was religion. The thesis is that religion has a significant role in Moroccans' daily lives, like through their morals, politics, and just overall way of life. There are clear differences in religion between like the rich and poor and their actions, and they're also like moral values. And Yusuf's life is completely changed in the end due to religious and political influence and his own perspective that life just isn't fair. So 99.7% or more of people in Morocco practice Islam, and the minorities are Christians and Jews. And as you can see, since so many people share the same faith, it is a huge part of overall culture. Illegitimacy is a topic discussed in Secret Son of Yusuf, and like Troy said before, it brought shame to him to know he was illegitimate, and that's why his mother kept it from him for such a long time. And then through research it states that he gets reward for good which he has earned, and he is punished for the evil which he has earned. So Yusuf, who is the bearer of the burdens, as you could say, shall not bear the burden of another. So even though his parents sinned and were not married when they had him, like it doesn't like go to Yusuf, like he's not punished for this. Marriage is highly recommended, obviously. It's directly linked to God, and it has like the utmost importance in society. Yusuf also talks about Mektab, which is fate throughout the novel, and this is like when he places blame on, for example, when he found out that his father had died, which he really didn't, but his story says his mother told him he would blame things on Mektab for fate. Way of life is seen differently through people, some are more religious than others. For example, Hatim says that our faith should be the main focus in our lives, so we cannot get rid of the sin or the misery in the society unless we put faith first. Prayer is a huge aspect of the Islamic religion, and Dr. Warden emphasized that they do pray 5 times a day at specific times. She also states that Islam defines a pace in your life different from Christianity or Judaism, and that it's a very community-based religion. And also the Kamsa is mentioned in the novel, and Yusuf has a silver Kamsa from his mother, which is like his only memento of her. And Nabil later on in the novel also gives Amal a ruby-encrusted platinum Kamsa as a present. So his silver one versus Amal's ruby-encrusted shows, you know, the differences in wealth, but at the same time they do share the same religion. And if you didn't know, a Kamsa, or like the hand of Fatima, is for Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad, and its role is magical religious protection in evil and witchcraft. And then a quote that I thought interesting was, he was an Oishak from Sefru on his mother's side and a Marni from Fes. He was half Berber, half Arab, man of the mountains, man of the city, an aristocrat, a full-blood Moroccan with the culture and history of 1,000 years. So this shows his pride through his ancestral, religious, and location-based backgrounds, and I think that all of these aspects really tie into the overall culture. Some discrimination that Amal got while she was studying in America can be seen through examples such as when she went to go sell her car. A quote was, "Are there like no explosives or anything?" Another one is when Nabil states to her, like, "Do you remember when someone taped a photo of Osama bin Laden on your door?" And this shows some Americans' typical stereotypes of Muslims and terrorism together. So the idea of a more moderate Islam is being introduced to prevent forms of radicalism and the destruction of moral order in society. And this is after recent violence and like terrorist attacks. So to prevent this, they've created new anti-terrorism laws, they've censored media, and they've kind of restructured how religion is taught in the educational system. An article from Mediterranean Politics says that the reforms are positive in like religious ideals, but their main focus is more political than like to spread equality of religion. So Islam is at the center of Morocco's political structure. So the article that I read actually argues that religious reforms could be more effective if religion and the state were more independent from each other and like away from politics. Now, Al-Hizb, the party that comes into Hayyan Najat to help them when the government wouldn't do anything to help. Si Hatim is the chairman of this. Their slogan is through God, with God, and by God. And Hatim states that the government basically abandoned the people, and so have all the parties such as the socialist conservatives and the other so-called Islamic parties. He states that they're too selfish to actually help the people in general, so they just care about themselves. So he's saying that everything that his party does, the partisans like follow God's way in the knowledge that is the best way. And the magazine At Tariq kind of goes off of the Casablanca magazine. It ties in both religious and political aspects to try to inform the public on, and they kind of go back and forth. So in the Casablanca magazine, if they say something about the party that's negative, they'll say something through this magazine in order to show their own views. And Justice, like Hatim says that there's a time for prayer and that there's a time for action. Hatim greatly influences Yusuf's overall mindset and constant reminders of religious beliefs and needed revenge of sinners. And he asks him, do you side with your friends and neighbors in Hayyan Najat, or do you side with Casablanca, those with sin and where Nabeel lives? And in the end, Yusuf's mere connection with the whole plot to kill Ben Aboud because of political and religious factors gets Yusuf in trouble. So it's really influenced him as a person in general. Even though he's trying to stop it, he is still connected with it. Dr. Warden has stated that Northern African countries value both fundamentalism, which is adhering strictly to religious rules, or modernization. And she says the challenge is trying to figure out how women can be on both sides. The community is supposed to be one in tradition, and she asks, why can't that happen again? In my research, I found that the regime has responded to the Islamist challenge, which is questioning the king's religious legitimacy and not sharing a common perspective on the whole faith. So the regime has invited Islamist movements to participate in the political game, but they must accept the constitution and the monarchy in order to do this. It's changed its religious policies, so by replacing the Minister of Religious Affairs, passed much more strict anti-terrorism laws, and after recent terrorist attacks. So through all of our subtopics, you can see that they show issues within the areas of youth, wealth, gender roles, and religion. But there are active movements and or reforms that are attempting to make society better. However, some of them may be seen, just depending on your viewpoint, as actually improving these areas or making the issues even worse. And those are all our references.
Okay.